Once again, folks, stocks exhibiting some softness as investors are still kind of grappling now with what's going to be the next big catalyst to propel this market higher. Now, here with their thoughts, I want to bring in Knights View Wealth Management CIO and Fox Business contributor Scott Martin, along with CEO of SureVest, which is in a CI financial company, Rob Luna. Scott, you know, it's interesting because you got these high PE ratios, but you also have some pretty good dividend payouts, and you know earnings are better than consensus right now. So I know it's a guessing game, but I believe when we get more clarity, a lot of money is going to pour into this market.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, Charles, along with the high PE ratios, you have high revenue growth still in some cases for some of these stocks that are so expensive. And you know, I know, and Rob knows that the markets will pay up and continue to pay up for stocks in that environment if it thinks that those things are going to get better, to your point about the economy reopening. So my point, though, or my takeaway is that right now, though, given that the market feels maybe a little uneasy, I still like some of the undervalued and unloved stocks. I'm thinking about banks and travel stocks. I know I've been saying this for the last month or two, just because of the fact that I think they're going to catch up to some of the broader growth names.
Real quick, when you say travel, though, is that are you talking like the airlines and things like that?
Yeah, airlines. So like Southwest Airlines, Charles, is a name we've been picking up for folks, as well as Expedia. That's another one, too, travel site. And then on the bank side, more looking at big banks, big strong ones like Citigroup and JP Morgan, of which we own as well.
All right, I'm going to come back to you and ask you about the upcoming stress test. In the meantime, Rob, I do want to get your idea. You know, this week has really been a really intriguing week. I mean, I think we're slightly up for the week, but the good news is we don't have the crazy volatility, right? Those wild swings, but you can feel like we're waiting for something. This is the calm before something happens. We don't know what.
Yeah, no, and I think the action's actually been quite positive, Charles, because if you look at some of the growth names that have been leading, a name like Amazon's up 4%. But if you look at some of those stalwarts like Pepsi, a dividend payer, that one's also up 4%. So it's actually been a broad-based, healthy rally this week. But I think the market's looking to the next thing. And I think last Friday, Scott brought up a good point. In this market, you really got to decide, are you a trader looking to take those short-term profits? Because that's one strategy, or are you a long-term investor? I think those are the things you have to look at depending on where you want to put your money in this market.
It's so funny, I had some subscribers who were upset that my buy and hold segment, I'd taken a lot of profits, and I showed them where every stock out of the 7 we took out, 4 are down from where we sold them. Yeah. So that's the name of the game, right? You're sitting on 25% in 3 weeks. Take it, you know, if you're not sure. Let me ask you about something else, because a lot of people are coming into the markets, and there are a lot of people who've been in the markets for a long time. This has always been a dilemma. We saw today 2 big upgrades on Spotify. One went from a target of 190 to 275. The other went from a target of 200 to 275. That is huge. Now, the stock is already up big this week. So Scott, I'll ask you, is there a way or a method of knowing when to chase these kind of names?
Well, look, I mean, some of the price upgrades are ridiculous. Let's put it that way. I mean, and now it's part of the whole flow of the market. I mean, when things get sanguine, I mean, look at what happened to stuff like Beyond Meat even last year, Charles. And I think, you know, even some of the other cloud stocks, Zoom too, you know, they get this following and they get this almost cult-like buying culture. I don't think it's wrong to chase those stocks sometimes, because likely investors will pile in on those recommendations. But just remember that just as some of these analysts make these price targets, they also cut them as well. And a lot of times they never hit some of these price targets, or it's too late. So just know that, back to a comment Rob made, which I appreciate he highlighting from something I said last week, if you're a trader in this market, you can trade on some of those analyst upgrades, I think, a lot more than you can buy them as an investor.
Yeah.
I like that. You complimented the guy because he complimented you. I love this sex. I love this.
He looks better than I do, man.
Brothers.
I have to do
that. Hey, Rob. Okay, so Rob, you emailed me, you texted me, and you also sent the carrier pigeon. So we know PepsiCo was one of your another winner for you, right? It's up 10% in the 3 months since you talked about it. But if you were to go after some of these high momentum names like a Spotify, is there a time, is there a technical point that you say, okay, I'll take the plunge because I think there's so many people coming behind me, even though I already missed the big move?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Charles. I appreciate you bringing that up. And really what it is, it's about rotation. We talked about that. So what could be a great name next week, last week is a bad name next week. To that point, I really like breakouts right here. So some of these momentum names that have maybe been up against resistance, I sent you over a chart of CrowdStrike. That's that stay-at-home play. People are working from their laptops.
So
Endpoint
let's leave it
security
there.
just broke out.
CrowdStrike. Hey, guys,
That's it,
thank
buddy.
you both very much. Have a great weekend. Always enjoy our conversations. You know, Liz Claman, the Dow's off 108.